let's not take credit for our father's good deeds, all right? Oh, and Western Europe is still Semitic. I know some people got upset when I said that, but I mean, this is so obvious. This is so true, and you're racist. Because I've been trying to tell you guys this whole. You've been brainwashed with this Semitic equals Jew equals bad nonsense, right? It's just a psyop. It's just a psyop. It got all these people who want the truth looking in all the wrong places and accepting Semites like President Trump, right? Looking, looking for these hook-nosed people, right? Because they were brainwashed to zero in and focus in on these bad guys, which allows all these other bad guys to operate out in the open, and most people won't question them at all, right? They're all Semites. Which isn't to say that Semite is just automatically bad. But there's a certain baggage that comes with these Semitic leaders. I mean, look at what they've done to the world. And maybe if the other side had gained the power, more power, it would have been even worse. I don't know. But I'm just talking about the facts. Okay? Because I see a lot of people confused, running around with this, pin the tail on or pin the nose on the Jew. Not realizing that they need to take a long, good look in the mirror and look at these people that they're in love with and worshiping and realize that most likely it's a Semite. So if you got a problem with Semites, why not all of them? Why not yourself? Right? Maybe we should start judging people by the content of their character rather than their blood. How about it? Right? People are asking me, well, why does this matter? Because it's the truth. Anyway, let's talk about ancient Canaanite religion. Oh, by the way, what's Canaan? Well, to the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims, the Abrahamic religions, it's the promised land, right? That's where your ideologies came from, isn't it? Canaan, Palestine, right? Why do you think it's a war zone? Anyway, the land of Canaan, which comprises of the modern-day Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria, right? War zone. You know what they're doing there? Yeah, it's about oil. Yeah, sure. That's how you get big oil companies on the ball and giving you money to go in there and bomb the shit out of the place. Yeah. It also has to do with oil. But you know what it has to do with? Also, if not first and foremost, I'll tell you in another video. Keep watching. Canaanite religion refers to the group of ancient Semitic religions practiced by the Canaanites before they became Jewish, Christian, and Muslim, right? Before all that. Canaanite religion was polytheistic and in some cases monolithistic. We'll get to that in just a second. These are the various gods that they venerated, one of them being Baal, another one being Baalat Gebal, whatever. Right? Oh, look at Baal. Black Lives Matter. Black Power. Is that what he's saying? Some of you dummies are. How come? Oh, would you look at that? Would you look at that? Right? Another Semite or semi-Semite. Looks like that one might have hatched out from an egg, man. You think David Icke is crazy? I used to. Not anymore. Look at that. Where is it? Oh, at the British Museum. Egyptian figures at the British Museum. How'd that happen? Look at that. Right? Worshipping Baal. Right? How come? Oh, look. It's a British guy. Right? They're doing this in the United States and Western Europe mostly. How come you don't see any Polish or Russian footballers doing any of this or politicians. And maybe they will at some point, but how come you don't see them doing any of this? How about Latin America? Why aren't they doing any of this? And if they are, it's few and far between, and it's those westernized Latin American countries, if they are doing it. I'd expect to see something like that in Chile or Argentina. Maybe Uruguay. Maybe. How come Africa? Where do you find all the black people? If Black Lives Matter and this is the way to express that, how come the Africans ain't doing it? How come? Because this is the worship of the Semitic god Baal. That's what this is. It has nothing to do with black lives. Where do we go from here? So, the ancient Canaanites, Phoenicians, same thing. Look, these people, they're parasites, right? I'm talking about the leaders. I'm not talking about all Semites everywhere, right? Because I'd be talking about half the damn world, at least half of Europe. These Semitic leaders that control all the Western countries, probably, and most countries in the world, period. Just look at their insignia. They're parasites, okay? They have no, I'll talk about this in other videos, they have no allegiance to any country. They're just parasites. They chew you up and they spit you out. Look at where Italy is, right? The Roman Empire. Grand, it was so grand, amazing. They brag about their history. Look at where they are right now. In shambles, in ruins, right? What a shithole, Italy. No offense. Look at what they're doing in Germany right now, the Holy Roman Empire, right? People want to sit there and like support this fake, made up Germanic identity when most of them are genetically Slavic. Duh. Right? But because they were Germanized and they want to worship this Germanic identity, which is all just created in the last 150 years. And what are your German Semitic leaders doing? Like Merkel, who's Polish, by the way, or somewhat Polish. Descended from, probably some Polish Jews, probably. Semitic. What are they doing, right? They're bringing in all kinds of Semites into your country, trying to make it more Semitic. What do you think? Where do you think Germany's headed? Well, it's exactly where Italy is. So keep sucking off that teeth and keep, pushing this Germanic identity nonsense. Not realizing that, you're a mother, you're a father, you're a son, you're a brother. Germanic. Well, okay, if you're going to roll with that, then roll with your Semitic identity too. Or maybe Slavic, if that's where you came from. Anyway, tangent. Sorry, people. Back on topic. These people were also what's the word again? Monolitristic. What does that mean? Belief in the existence of many gods, but with the consistent worship of only one deity, right? Thou shalt not have other gods before me, or something like that, right? Isn't that the story? The Semitic religion? Belief in the existence of many gods, but with the consistent worship of only one deity. Thou shalt not have other gods before me. If there were no other gods, then why would God say, thou shalt not have other gods before me? That's acknowledging that there are other gods. But I'm number one, right? These modern day Semitic religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, well, they're all Semitic, obviously. Semites created them, and they're using them to divide the world. I'm not saying they were created with this express purpose, but here we are, and the Jews supposedly hate the Christians hate the Jews, and all of them hate the Muslims, and the feeling is mutual, right? And yet they're all Semites, right? Divide and conquer, isn't it? So, in opposition to this monolatry, whatever it's called, or polytheism, you have Arianism. Now, they'll tell you that, oh, this has nothing to do with the Aryans with the Y, right? I wouldn't be so quick to judge that. I don't know. I'm still looking into this, and we'll see what happens. But Arianism is basically the rejection of the Holy Trinity, right? Because it's seen as a form of polytheism. These Arians reject that. And it comes supposedly from a guy named Arius, from a couple of 100 years after the death of Christ, supposedly, maybe 300 years, right? Arius. Now, maybe that's true, and they say that the term Aryan with an I is derived from Arius and not Aryan with the Y, and maybe that's true, but that doesn't mean that Arius with the I wasn't derived from Aryan, right? You see where I'm going with this? And there's quite a bit of evidence that the Eastern Europeans, early Eastern Europe, or right around that time, were Aryan religiously, and they were Aryan by blood. So I'm not saying too much about that right now because it's something I have to look into still. But to just dismiss that as a coincidence, not me. Anyway, these are all Semites, right? What is this? This is the phoenix, right? The symbol of the Phoenicians, right? Semites. That's what this is. Phoenix rising from the ashes, rebirth, right? That's a topic for another video. The U.S. State Department. Sorry. Right? People see this emblem and they say, oh, Israel has taken over the United States. And if that's the case, then why aren't your leaders wearing yarmulkes? Right? You have the Seal of Solomon, Star of David. I'm sure it has a bunch of different names, right? It's a pyramid and another one. It's a pyramid and a capstone. Inverted, right? Go look at Trump Towers. Take a good long look at Trump Towers. What it's adorned with. No, Israel didn't take over the United States. The United States was created by Semites, Anglo-Saxon Semites. Okay? So, yeah, Western Europe is still Semitic. And, you know, if you think that there's something wrong with the Semites, then at least the ones in charge, and I think clearly there is, which isn't to say that the other side would be any better, but, you know, you got all these dummies running around calling themselves Germanic when they're either Semitic or Aryan, right? Which none of that is Germanic. Germanic is just created. It's just all in their heads. So they're either Slavic or descended from Slavs, or they're descended from Canaanites. And none of that is Germanic. You know, they think that Semite means automatically means Jew and bad because they're racist, because they don't know their own history and they don't know that their leaders, most of them, if not all of them, are Semites. That's why you see the Semitic symbology everywhere. Everywhere. That's why you see this in Western Europe and the United States and not in Africa, which you would think would care more about black people than anybody else. But sub-Saharan Africa isn't for the most part Semitic, even though they may have adopted certain Semitic religions. They're not Semites. Anyway, Western Europe is still Semitic, and you gotta be blind not to see that. Okay? But let's do our best not to blame the son for his father's sins. Take care.